My name is SquashMVP, and I'm making this video as a sort of introduction video to my next big one. As you can see, I'm currently downloading Dosbox, an emulator for MS-DOS. Emulators in computers are hardware or software that lets a computer run programs made for another computer. Sometimes those hardwares or softwares are incompatible with the architecture you're trying to run it on. Most basic example is running Windows applications on a Mac. It's just not happening. Not unless you emulate the architectures of the Windows environments for the applications to run in. That's Dosbox, but for MS-DOS and other stuff. MS-DOS is an operating system, by the way, an old one. It's similar to how Windows 11 is an operating system. The main thing Dosbox seems to focus on is gaming, but it's an emulator for the MS-DOS environment. You can run stuff in Dosbox that only has the requirement of needing to be run with a specific architecture. If you have an old game in your closet, you can dig it out and play it on your brand spanking new hardware. Maybe. You'll figure it out. I'm going to speak about the basics of using Dosbox and some of my personal best practices by working with two games. But first, as you can see, the installation process is quite simple. You accept the terms and install the stuffs. Once you do, you can open Dosbox immediately. Those are the files, and now that you have it open, it might be a bit confusing, but to put it simply, it's an operating system which runs from a made-up Z drive. Pretty sure it's the folder Dosbox is located in. I should check. To use Dosbox, you must do what's called mounting a directory. A directory is a folder. You can mount that to act as one of Dosbox's drives, similar to how Z is the current drive that's mounted on Dosbox. Here, I mounted my DOS games folder from my actual computer C drive as the C drive for Dosbox. Use C as your emulated hard drive. I don't think it makes a difference to DOS, but in real life some of the letters do have a meaning, and you'll look smarter if you stick with it. More importantly, that's the letter drive that installation files kind of associate with as a place to off their load. So, it's actually kind of important. I typed in mount C, and then where my folder is located, the entire location. So C:/DOS games. Mount is the word you want to type in that tells DOS you want to use its mysterious mount abilities. Then you can set parameters. Yeah, there's customization. One of the parameters you can set is the letter you want to use for the drive. I chose C because I felt like it. And then I typed in the path to my games folder and hit enter. That's it. DOS games is mounted as a C drive. Now you must move from the Z drive to the newly mounted drive. It's as simple as typing in the name of the drive C. Now I should have mounted Doom as C instead because I wanted to run Doom, and that's what folder it's in. That's okay. You can change directories with CD. Doom_SC is under DOS games, so I just typed in CD and the folder name Doom SE. That changed my directory to Doom SE. Sorry, it really is just that simple. The complexity comes from knowing which command does what and how to implement stuff. And now we're in the folder. As you might have seen, I invoked Doom by typing Doom, and so then began Doom. If the program can run in DOS, you could simply type in the name of the program. No extension required, you hit enter, and Dosbox should run it. Here's the configuration file for Dosbox. It's the Dosbox Options.bat file. If you double click it, it's located in the Dosbox install folder. You can open it, at which point you can customize any of the settings that you see fit. These are actually the settings that Dosbox uses to run. So I'm going to the bottom here where you can type in what's known as code. This code runs as soon as DOS starts up. This code might look familiar, actually. What we're doing here is a quality of life upgrade to the DOSboxing. This will save you the effort of having to type in the code every time you open up Dosbox. The more organized you are with this, the better it works out for you. We open up to the folder where all of the game folders are located. The DOS games folder, as it's known in these parts. That's all this code does. Remember those quality of life upgrades I mentioned a while back? One of those involves creating shortcuts like I have here in this folder. You can click any one of these and it plays the respective game. No more hassle on my part. and it runs with the settings I set for that respective game. I made it tiny just so I could show you. I'll get into this on the next install. Here I have 3 shortcuts to 3 folders in my computer, where I will store my games, my Dosbox installation, and where I will store my shortcuts. We're going to practice with one of my favorite games, and probably the best practice you'll get with the Dosbox and game installations, the Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, downloaded for free from, where the hell did I get this? Inside here is a folder with a Daggerfall patch, and a folder with a Daggerfall CD files. Oh, and a dumb old tutorial thing, we don't need that. I transferred these files over to the DOS games folder I made, and, this is a really, really good explanation. Shit. I can't beat this. The formatting? They numbered it. Fuck. There's no pre-page crap. It just starts immediately. First thing you're going to notice if you're following along is that the DFCD only has installation stuff. The goal here is to take that stuff that's in the DFCD and install it into the Daggerfall file, where DAG213 is at. You might remember, we only had to work within one folder when we played Doom. This is Newgrounds. This is Newgrounds. To make it easier, I kept the folders with the same names when I moved them over. This is for the installation. Now I mount the folder where I will both install the game and play from as the directory for the C drive. This is the Dagger folder. I mount it with a free size parameter. This is necessary for some installations, as some installers check the file size of your drive to ensure that you have enough free space. Dosbox is emulating the drive though. There is no space. Only computer. The minus free size 1000, that's how you type it. There's a space between free size and 1000, makes a directory mount with a size of 1000 megabytes. Do this if you, quote, don't have enough space, unquote. The DFCD is mounted as a CD to my D drive. Rather, I mounted it without denoting it as a CD drive. So it's just a directory in my example. Remember just a few seconds ago how I mentioned the parameters for mounting? You could actually tell DOSBox what to mount stuff as, too. The proper code for Daggerfall CD mounting is mount d : your directory path minus t CD-ROM minus label Daggerfall. There's a space between the T and CD-ROM. There's a space between the minus and CD-ROM. There's a space between label and Daggerfall. I'm so unnecessary. This line tells DOSBox to mount your directory path in the D drive as a CD-ROM named Daggerfall. I hope that line makes sense. Navigate to your newly mounted Daggerfall CD-ROM by typing in where it's located and hitting enter. We remember that, right? Type the name of the drive in order to switch to that drive. Fortunately, I did not need the CD to be mounted as Daggerfall for the installation, but this could be a possible issue to take note of. And the installation is simple. You're installing into C, and not C Dagger. And I won't explain why. If you get it, you get it. If not, you'll figure it out with more DOSBoxing. After that, being that we just pretty much installed into the folder that contains DAG213, we could just run DAG213, which is a patch for Daggerfall. And it has to be run in order to patch the game, I guess. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, we could just run that by typing in the name and hitting enter. After this is all done, we can start the game as normal. And this is where that CD check comes into play for me. One sec on that. To make it easier, I will create a shortcut. This time though, I will set it to work with its own parameters to assure it will start with settings proper for Daggerfall, and also to make it so I don't have to mount the CD folder every time I just want to freaking play this game. Let's make our own configuration file by copying DOSBox's configuration file. We also want a DOSBox shortcut to work with. Now, we're going to create a file and copy all of the configuration settings onto it from that DOSBox configuration file. Name it whatever, I don't give a shit. I found .conf to be the extension you want to use for these configuration files. Save the name as that properly by saving the file with that different extension. and not by retyping its extension and from within the Explorer. Delete the old file you created. Poor thing. Now the shortcut. Name that shortcut something that's easy to find within this mess of files. Doesn't matter. And here's the shortcut part. You type in the code that you would normally have to type into DOS to get the game running, all within that configuration file under the auto exec header. Remember, we still need our CD. We don't have the crack installed, so we need to type in all this code. All of this code should make sense at this point. The next big step for this shortcut to work is to make the shortcut read that newly made configuration file instead of resorting to the one that's inside the installation folder, because it'll still try to read that shit. Open the properties in your shortcut, right click and you'll hopefully see the properties thing. At the end of the target line, you can add parameters. You can add parameters everywhere, it's insane. After the quotes, I typed in -conf, the name of that configuration file we made. And that's it. While you're at it, might as well also type in -no console. This will make it so that DOSBox closes when you exit the game. Start in is the path where your game is located. Simple enough. Once those parameters are set, that's it. You have your shortcut. Move it onto your desktop. Rename it. Delete it. I don't care. What I care about is letting you know that if you got Daggerfall running, that I am proud of you for the work you were able to do today. Many people seem to be unable to understand this installation process, so seriously, 2 thumbs up if you got Daggerfall running. Dosbox and similar emulators are important not only for the preservation of resources in what can essentially be considered human history, but is also important for the development of newer and better hardwares or softwares. This is also to deter the mistakes made in the past. This is an introduction to my upcoming video log formation thing. It's about emulators. Keep an eye out for it if you want to emulate anything on your device or need to know where to start. I will provide many resources for the emulations. Check the description below for links related to or specifically about DOSBox and emulation of operating systems. Look at the Patreon. Thank you for watching this video. Have a swell day.